regularly scheduled meeting of the Civilian Oversight Commission for LA Sheriffs. At St. Anne's, we want to thank St. Anne's for their hospitality today. And, I think the first issue is the approval of the consent calendar of February 16th, 2023 in the minutes. Do I need to do anything?
No, but I need to call the roll.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. I don't see it. Okay. Yes. Ingrid, can you call the roll?
Sure, no worries. Commissioner Bonner? Commissioner Cooper?
Present.
Commissioner Garcia?
Here.
Commissioner Giggins?
Here.
Commissioner Harris?
Here.
Vice Chair Hicks?
Present.
Chair Kennedy?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Rubin?
She is on vacation, so I know she's not going to be here. Before we start, do I need to do anything with regard to Commissioner Hicks appearing?
Commissioner Hicks would like to ask the body to, so that if it's a vote today, he is to vote.
Okay, so Commissioner Hicks has a rain-related emergency situation at home, so he's appearing remotely. I think we probably all unanimously agree that that's appropriate. Does that satisfy our needs, Executive Director?
Sorry, I do believe you'll need a record check.
It can't be a voice vote because obviously everyone agrees.
Would you like me to take a roll call vote or?
Let's do it because why not?
Sounds good. Commissioner Cooper?
I agree.
Commissioner Garcia? Commissioner Giggins?
Agree.
Commissioner Harris?
Agreed.
Vice Chair Hicks?
Agreed.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Chair Kennedy?
So having settled that administrative Brown Act issue, do we need to do anything else on the approval of the consent calendar? We do, then that's settled. We usually take the time to have family impact remarks by people who are affected by sheriff violence, but we didn't have anyone who wanted to speak today. If there's any change from my, we have someone who wants to do that? Okay, I mean, if we have someone here who wants to talk about that and no one else is here, we could have them do that, couldn't we? Because then he won't have to be on the clock, so to speak, right? You want to talk? Okay. All right, so then we're going to move to agenda item number 2. Before we begin, I want to say that Sheriff Luna is on his way. He's expected to be here maybe 45, 50 minutes. So obviously, I would like to do whatever we can before the sheriff is here to attend. It's time for reports. I think I'll save my report for the item on deputy gangs, and I can discuss the March 7th, 2023 meeting before the Board of Supervisors. So I'll forego talking about that until then. So I'm going to ask our new executive director, do you have anything you want to report, Danielle?
No, I don't have any reports today. Thanks, Sean.
Have Max, but Max here, who's from the Inspector General's office, Is there anything from OIG that we can report?
Right now, obviously, with the deputy gang agenda today, OIG also has plans to do investigatory work with regard to deputy gangs, and we've been talking to some of the parties who we expect might be involved in shaping what that looks like. So you'll hear more about that in the next month or so. We're finalizing what we think are appropriate investigative questions for people that want to have conversations with. And in addition to that, we are right now really pressing on the matter of jail overcrowding. We've had numerous conversations with officials at the Sheriff's Department with regard to how to solve the jail overcrowding problem, which would obviously involve the release of people in the jails. The conditions in the jails, we have concerns about whether we are meeting the requirements of the United States Constitution, and so we've expressed those concerns to officials at the Sheriff's Department. We have some reports coming out. One of them will be addressing racial disparities in traffic stops. A school resource deputy report, which follows up on an earlier report we did with regard to racial disparities at one of the school districts in the county. And then we have a body-worn camera report coming out as well, which really just addresses stand on the implementation of body-worn cameras, but also touches upon the fact that a study was done with body-worn cameras in custody by the Sheriff's Department. We did receive some revisions to the body-worn camera policy that were prepared under the previous administration, and we're looking at those proposed revisions to see what recommendations that we would like to make. That pretty much covers it, unless anybody has any questions.
Any commissioners have any questions? Are there any ad hoc committee reports the past year? Under the schedule, I've said deputy gangs have eclipsed committees, but since we have a woman here,
Yes.
other committee reports can take place. JP?
Yeah, as concerns the ad hoc budget committee, we have submitted the recommendations from this commission to the chief executive office of the board and the board. Proposed sheriff's budget. CEO will be going before the board. 23-24 recommended budget on the 18th of April, and then the board will have a public hearings on those recommendations on May the 10th. There is additional information on the LA County website, but our recommendations have moved forward.
Does any other commissioner want to give us an update on this? Okay, Hans, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Go ahead. Sure.
Thank you, Chair Kennedy. I'm like to report in on behalf of the Ad Hoc Technology Committee that we are reviewing the Sheriff's Department's policy on the use of tasers and asking for public input on LASD's use of tasers. There's actually a survey that is posted by commission staff that is available for public input now through the 30th of March. And I would like the link for that survey entered into the minutes for today, and commend all of my fellow commissioners to share that link with others, other stakeholders in Los Angeles County for following up before the 30th.
Thank you. Patty?
Thank you. Yes, I have a question. I know that the ad hocs were reorganized, and so like the technology ad hoc, I just heard from is that That's not a standalone now, that's part of a larger group? I'm still confused about how we constituted the ad hocs. They were regrouped.
Commissioner Giggins, we can have staff to forward you how they were regrouped and who's in what ad hoc and what topics those ad hocs are dealing with.
So then when when we want to report back, we still are taking care of those clustered different.
I think I understand what you're saying, and there are some topics that might be now in a different ad hoc.
Yeah.
I think the issue, and county council might be able to deal with it better than I,
Okay.
but the issue is, the ad hocs are supposed to be for a purpose and then end. And so I think that's why some of the ad hocs were reconstituted and some topics may just be in a different ad hoc.
The topics haven't ended.
And frankly, are not likely to end for a long time, Patty. Anyone else want to this update? Next agenda item is on deputy gangs. As I said before, we had a special hearing at Loyola Law School March 4th, where Bert Deixler presented his report with 27 recommendations, and the commission sent those to the Board of Supervisors, and the Board of Supervisors on March 7th held a hearing where I, on behalf of the commission, addressed the board, and Inspector General was there as well. And the exoneree, who is a victim, deputy gangs, specifically the Vikings, that exoneree being Frankie Correa, addressed them. And the supervisors unanimously accepted the recommendations and urged Sheriff Luna to adopt all of the recommendations in the report. It was a unanimous vote. We sent that over information, obviously, to the sheriff, who has the report as well. And he has given us a letter explaining his efforts to eradicate deputy gangs. I think it should be noted that I don't think the letter gives us any answer regarding any specific recommendation, but it does voice a commitment to implement the recommendations. And so probably the most appropriate thing to do is to wait until Sheriff Luna arrives so that we can have that discussion. Unless I think we should start now. I mean, I think everyone here is interested in the sheriff's perspective on these issues. So my thought is we should just wait till he comes and tells us what he thinks.
I concur, Mr. Chair. The sheriff should be here shortly. And as I notified you yesterday, he was not able to get here an hour or so. And I do think it's important the commission hear directly from the sheriff rather than intermediary.
That sounds right. That sounds right. So is there anything, can I ask Ingrid, is there anything on the agenda that we could do until Sheriff Luna arrives, or?
Yes, you could take general public comment. There's only one person. Two? Okay.
Okay, I just, when we met at Loyola, we had a special meeting and not everyone could attend. And there was great interest in whether or not Commissioner Hicks and Commissioner Cooper, because they were not able to be at that meeting, wanted to weigh in. So Irma and Jamon, if you have anything that you would like to say regarding special counsel's recommendations regarding deputy gangs in the report. We ought to hear from you because obviously you didn't have a chance to speak and to vote on the special hearing. And we didn't do that vote. I mean, in fact, there were some commissioners who wanted to wait, but the feeling was the issue was of such great importance that we just had to move forward. But if there's anything you'd like to say in that regard, invite the comments now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say I am very pleased that the recommendations were accepted by the Board of Supervisors. I am in total agreement that change must be made. So I am to the sheriff to get some more details what his plan is to make that happen. In total agreement. Sorry I wasn't able to be here. Death in the my reason for not being here. But this has been a critical problem that has been going on for too long. I am very pleased that the Board of Supervisors accepted every one of the recommendations.
Juan, you have anything you want to say?
I agree with Commissioner Brown that I'm happy that the Board of Supervisors have reviewed and accepted the recommendations. I did have a question, Chair Kennedy. There was we had a budget committee panel a few weeks back, and there was some great presentation made. I forget the woman's name, but from the ACLU that talked about different budgetary concerns, where the money is going to actually for the budget's going to go. And I was wondering, does the report from the special counsel have any influence when it comes to the budgetary issues and where the funding is going to go, especially as it relates to like the body cam footage and things of that nature, given the issues we've had with the sheriff gangs?
It's a tough question. E, do you know the answer to that?
No. No.
Jamon, we heard the sheriff's, the last time we were here at a regular meeting at St. Anne's, Sheriff Luna also attended and really engaged about the budget and gave us his budget priorities. And, we had a very robust discussion of the issues because several commissioners, myself included, thought that like specialized units that promote escalation and respond to people struggling with mental health issues in crisis, the therapeutic approach should have been given more priorities than tasers. But specific issues of deputy gangs didn't enter into that discussion with the budget because we don't really know what the sheriff is going to do. So is there a particular issue that relates to deputy gangs that you think impacts spending priorities or the budget that is to look into or talk about?
Well, I just know there's been various discussions in the past, and I believe even the Inspector General's office had talked about the issue concerning body-worn cameras or dash cam videos. And I was just wondering if, given obviously the issues with the sheriff gangs, is that something that has become more of a priority? Obviously, I understand the budgetary concerns with the expense and the cost, but just is that getting more priority now? Because the public, especially is as it relates to the sheriffs, want more transparency and visibility. So that's why I was just wondering if the special counsel report has any relation on opening up more of the discussions about making the body cams, dash cams, more of a priority for the department.
I don't know the answer to that, so why don't we tender that question to Sheriff Luna. It's my understanding after fighting body worn cameras for years that the department now has rolled them out fully, that all the patrol deputies have them. Or is that, it looks like, Dara, it looks like you know more about this. So please weigh in for us.
I have to read all the reports that we do, so I do. For the most part, they've been rolled out to almost all the patrol units. There's a couple of units, I think community college and some other like that, where there were delays because of equipment not being available for either infrastructure or for the actual cameras. I think that some of the pandemic delayed the production of items that they needed. But I believe all the patrol stations have them, so the traditional patrol stations. And then many of the specialized units also have them. My recollection is that ICIB, IAB, and homicide are not going to be given body-worn cameras, but they record all their interviews by policy anyway. So that was the only reason, according to the Sheriff's Department, that they body-worn cameras. But major crimes, SEB, OSS, even all the specialized units are on the list at least to get them or already have them. And then the one place that they looked at for expansion would be a custodial setting. So that then obviously, you know, the sheriff has to prioritize his budget, what the Sheriff's Department thinks is most crucial going forward. And so ultimately, budget they feel is to CEO. But I understand what you're saying about funding and other sort of that focus on de-escalation or act widening that training, because I think that we all agree escalation training is crucial to avoid some of the issues that create mistrust with the department. So, but as far as the cameras, I do think that we've pretty much out. And the other thing is that the Office of Inspector General does now have access, viewing access to evidence.com and the body-worn camera footage, although it's not really footage anymore because tape. So I keep trying not to say footage and then find myself saying footage, but we do have access to all of the videos. We have put some limitations on that just to be careful not to obstruct any investigation, but ultimately have access to it.
Okay, so it's it's an area of progress that our cameras, LA Sheriff's Department.
Mr. Chair, I could add a little bit to what the Inspector General said, if you would care.
Oh, yes.
Just coincidentally, last evening I received an update on the body-worn camera department. And separately, I should say, and when the sheriff gets here, he'll advise you that with respect to report that was issued, he has requested his fiscal team to provide all the fiscal impact so that we would have access to that information. But with respect to the body-worn camera issue, the data that I've received is 4,115 cameras have been deployed to all patrol stations, Community Partnership Bureau, Court Services, MetroLink, Operation Safe Streets, Parks Bureau, and Transit Services. Currently in the process of implementing body-worn cameras to Major Crimes Bureau and Narcotics Bureau detectives, along with Special Enforcement Bureau. That was a priority of the sheriff in assigning them cameras. Community colleges and county services, as indicated by the Inspector General, were delayed due to supply chain issues, but the expectation is that they will be deployed in the summer of this year. And once those sites have all been deployed, they will do a reassessment of what remains and set the priorities and the appropriate budgetary allocations for that. So that was the update I received as of yesterday.
Thank you, but not, as we heard, not the homicide detectives.
Not at this time, yeah.
I only know it because we have situations like the fatal shooting of Andre Corrado. We had a coroner's inquest, and we have two detectives from the homicide unit taking the Fifth Amendment when the coroner's inquest is going on. So obviously I'm a defense lawyer. Everyone has the right to take the Fifth Amendment. The retired justice running the inquest expressed great concern that homicide detectives involving the fatal shooting of a community member would not provide information to the coroner's inquest and would assert the Fifth Amendment. So that seems like an example where we really need a body-worn camera on the homicide detectives investigating the shooting of community members, because if they're going to take the Fifth Amendment, at least we'd have the body-worn camera footage.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and we'll look into that. It's a priority, thank you.
Anyone else? So let's take some community comments. Just have a couple of people, right? Wanted to say something? Go ahead.
Our first speaker, Allende Love. First speaker, Allende Love.
Welcome, Sheriff Luna. We're just going to take a couple of community comments, and then we'll start with you.
Hey, how you guys doing today? Awesome, awesome. Good to see you guys all. How you doing, Sheriff?
Good morning.
All right, so I'm here primarily to speak about the SROs that are school campuses. I'm coming from Lancaster, California. So in the Antelope Valley Union High School District, we have a lot of SROs that have a community contract that is right now based around $1.9 million for the agreement. The question that, or the comment that I wanted to make is about the transparency in data collection from those officers. So being able to actually know how each contact with each child is in specifics, which means was this so we have a measurement of how to be able to gauge whether or not this came from a level of bias from the officers, whether or not this the training is proper for the officers that are interacting with our children, and how do we go about improving that training if we don't have that data collection and if we don't have that open transparency to build that trust within the community. So I just wanted to make sure that Sheriff Luna was actually here, because I wanted to make sure that somebody that could actually act upon this was in the building. So that's my major concern right now is the prioritization of what our student safety spectrum looks like, and how do we go about a realistic guideline, being able to improve that for students, because that's what they deserve. And then how can we measure whether or not the improvements have taken place unless that transparent data is being captured and delivered. So guys, thank you.
We have one more additional in-person speaker, Ron Dow.
Are the school campuses, are they on all the campuses in Lancaster or just some?
I believe that they're in all high school campuses in Lancaster. Every high school.
Okay, no problem.
Hi, how you doing? Okay, so they are on every single campus of the Antelope Valley Union High School District. So that's every single high school that's within the Antelope Valley. So Palmdale, Lancaster, and unincorporated areas of Little Rock and Lake Los Angeles, and the Palmdale School District, which is the schools that are in Palmdale, K through 8, has just contracted with sheriffs as well. So to kind of add to what Mr. Love said, there are no state or federal guidelines that regulate what an officer can do to the students. Our concern is that since our community is under a settlement agreement with the DOJ for unconstitutional policing for brown and black, that's the agency that the district has hired to be in their school, and they're still not in compliance. So they're not changing their behavior just because they walk into a high school.
Because my concern about asking you that, are there problems on campus? I don't know how they are determining whether or not an officer is needed. I mean, I'm real concerned about elementary school. Why would you have a police officer on an elementary?
Public to hear.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. So part of what we're bringing to the forefront now is exactly what you're highlighting is where is the justification behind actually having the officers on campus? But the thing is that we don't have any transparency in the data collection for engagements. So how could we know if this could have been better handled with a counselor? How do we know if this could have been better handled with a security officer? How do we know that a sheriff's deputy is actually necessary for this encounter? If not, with the data collection to say why the encounter took place, or how something could be better assessed for children in those areas. So what we're saying is that without that level of transparency, what we're saying is that we have to have a complete trust within the sheriff's department, which, as we know, the community does not have that. So what we're saying is, hey, we're just going to give this to you and hope for the best, even though we're still under the settlement agreement. And this proposes huge problems. Trust issues that are taking place within the community, how we can best assess our children in their growth process, especially through the process of learning.
I'm also concerned about whether or not these children are traumatized growing up in an all-black community, ghetto. We were always afraid of policemen. So I am very concerned about whether or not they're getting the proper care for being traumatized.
So basically how it works with that district is that district policy and practice allows staff or administration to call law enforcement on any student for any education code violation, including students with disabilities. So the policy clearly states there is no difference between calling an SRO for a disabled or a non-disabled. So what you have when a student has a disability, by law, the school has to determine, was that violation of education code caused by that disability? If it was, reasonable accommodations have to be made. But we know in policy and practice that the district does not make that distinction. And so actually is our Black disabled students that have like the highest contact with school resource officers. And then even with security, those are problematic as well, because having the security interact with the SRO has basically radicalized security officers, where I have a photo of two security officers pinning down a student, pushing her face into the asphalt. They're going to handcuff her because that's just the atmosphere at the school. It's basically it's a correctional facility because sheriff's there, probation is there as well.
Town hall in Lancaster soon? Do we have it scheduled? I think we really need to, I'm volunteering to lead the town hall in the Antelope Valley. So let's, just over and over again, we hear I do a lot of work on behalf of at-risk youth in the Antelope Valley, and I just hear over and over again these concerns about the school police and what's going on in the Lancaster school district. And that photo, you know, I'd like to see that. That's troubling. And Sheriff, I appreciate you being here to hear some of the public comments, because the situation in Lancaster, it just seems really like there's a lot of stress in the community about how the two stations in the Antelope Valley police out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing.
We have one more public comment, and then we're going to move right to Sheriff Luna.
It's taken me an hour and a half to travel from San Pedro today to get here. And as much as I love coming to the commission meetings, I'm looking forward to the day when the meeting is actually taking place south of the 10 freeway, particularly since most of the problems we talk about are in Compton, South Central, and those areas.
Point well taken.
I would like to arrive on time.
It's the peace sign me.
We have two
Okay.
more public comments online. Okay, our first public comment comes from Robert Ray, followed by MJ King.
Robert, a request was sent for you to unmute. You need to acknowledge that to unmute yourself to make your comment. Okay, please go ahead. Robert, you are unmuted, but we are not hearing you.
Conversation about shot callers. And I have reason to believe that shot callers are still in the Compton station. And not only do the shot callers affect the assignment of the deputies, I have reason to believe they might affect the calls for service from the public. And I'll give you an example. I called the department to report trespassers on city property. After 20 minutes, I called back and said, what is an ETA? And they said, your call is in the system. I waited another 20 minutes and I dialed the watch commander's extension directly. And the watch commander says that trespassers are not a priority call. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but let me remind you that the person who broke into Paul Pelosi's home and hit him over the head with a hammer was a trespasser. So if trespassers is not a priority call, it should be. But since the sheriff is also here, I would like to really hear from him how he is progressing on his plan to eradicate the gangs from the various stations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert.
We're going to actually take that matter up right after we finish public comment.
Awesome. And just one more public comment. MJ King, a request has been sent for you to unmute yourself. Please go ahead, MJ.
Good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Thank you. Adopting a stronger policy on deputy gangs directed only to the sheriff and LASD isn't enough to eradicate deputy gangs and address the multitude of their misconduct. I urge this commission to do two things. One, fully investigate this catastrophic impact of deputy gangs on our communities, and not just that on LASD and other deputies. And two, you really need to develop a holistic set of recommendations, not just to the sheriff and LASD, but to all stakeholders, especially the Board of Supervisors. I'm particularly skeptical about Luna's ability to eradicate deputy gangs when his own undersheriff, April Tardy, who testified in front of this commission that not only are Black deputies not allowed in deputy gangs, not only are female deputies not allowed in deputy gangs, and although she acknowledged in her testimony that Bandito's activity qualifies as gang behavior, but insists on calling them subgroups or cliques, now we find out that the undersheriff herself has a deputy gang tattoo. So what can we see from this new administration that anything is going to change if we're going to continue to promote deputy gang members to the highest leadership in the department? Lastly, I'm concerned about county council and their complicity in enabling this violence and abuse by defending civil rights lawsuits with deputy gang allegations, even when the deputies at issues engage in misconduct far outside the course and scope of their duties. County council has used our taxpayer dollars to defend deputy gang members. This goes against everything this commission has been working for to represent the community, to keep us safe, and to prevent more gang violence and more suffering and pain and damage at the hands of our most vulnerable community members, and acted on by LASD and LASD gang members.
Thank you. Well, that concludes the public comment. just that little slice gives us a lot to think about. But I want to transition into the agenda item of the day because we have Sheriff Luna here, as well as the head of his constitutional policing unit, Eileen Decker, is here as well. And we sent over special counsel's report regarding deputy gangs with all of the recommendations, the 27 recommendations in there. And Sheriff, I think you were not here yet, but myself and the Inspector General, Max Huntsman, and an exoneree who spent decades in prison as a result of misconduct by a deputy gang member, Viking, testified on March 7th before the Board of Supervisors, which unanimously accepted the COC special counsel report and urged you and your department to adopt all 27 recommendations. And so here we are today, and we received your letter late last night expressing your commitment to eradicating deputy gangs, which is much appreciated. It really is. We've spent 4 years fighting the elected sheriff on this issue. So to receive a letter that expresses a real commitment to do something about deputy gangs is appreciated, but the letter doesn't really address the issue of the specific recommendations. I don't know, maybe that's for a later time, maybe that's under consideration, but I was going to turn over the floor to you in case you wanted to add anything to the letter, and then I hope commissioners, because we're a diverse and eclectic group, will weigh in about what various commissioners think. I understand that this is a difficult issue, that you have police unions, that you have other agencies, but I just want to say, I mean, it's been 50 years that this has been happening, and I recently sent to you kind of a catalog of all the things I was able to find about what the Executioners deputy gang has done to individuals in Compton, and it was quite startling. I've been on this commission since the beginning, so I feel like I had a certain expectation, but when I saw like what sworn law enforcement personnel with tattoos are doing to people, it's pretty shocking. And some of those people are still in the department, which is pretty shocking. And so I turn it over to you for anything you want to say. We respect your position, and I also know you're in an impossible position. You come into this in media res, and you're thinking you have to do so many things. So I don't want to criticize you, but I do want to say, to the extent that people are being hurt in the community by tattooed deputy gang members, I don't know that we can wait for labor issues. But I mean, I want to hear what you have to say because I respect your opinion. I think everyone in this room respects your opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Well, good morning to everybody. Very happy to be here with you. I'll spend a couple of minutes just giving you my initial thoughts, and then I'm looking forward to the questions and our concerns. As I tell everybody, either inside or outside the Sheriff's Department, as good as I think I can be, I can't do this by myself. It's going to take an all-out effort, and that's on all issues, not just the issue that we're talking about here today. And you said something as you were talking about this or introducing this, you used the word impossible. It's not impossible. Anything's possible when you have people working together to make sure that we're trying to do it right. So I want to start off by thanking the entire commission and the ad hoc committee that put these recommendations together for all of you to put them forward. It is obvious that there is a lot of work that went into this, a lot of effort, a lot of time that went into it, overtime, and a lot of testimony from a lot of our community members and even members of our department that came forward. And that's very important for everybody to recognize. But I also want to make it clear, and remember, as I'm talking to you as your sheriff, I think I'm on my 103rd day. And that's really important to just throw out there. But I don't come at you from making excuses or rationalizing anything, because it is very important that, one, as I was campaigning for this job and nothing has changed, I was committed to dealing with a lot of the issues that were raised during the campaign, where I was listening very loud and clear, that the issue of deputy gangs, subgroups, cliques, whatever you want to call them, to be honest with you, all the terms are unacceptable, is something that I committed to coming in and, one, acknowledging their existence, because you can't deal with the problem unless you acknowledge that they exist, and then moving forward in working with this commission, the Inspector General, and even reaching out to other agencies as we move forward, whether it was the FBI, federal DOJ, state DOJ, whomever it takes to get to the place where we need to get to. But in your report, and just as I have seen so far in the just over 100 days, I do also appreciate the fact that there's a recognition that the vast majority of employees who work for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department are really great people, very committed, very passionate about serving this community. And just like in every profession, you have people who, for one reason or another, go a direction that is unacceptable and has to be dealt with. So I have recognized the fact that there is a lot of good people there, and doing this, priority number one is our community, because they deserve the best policing services that we can offer, the best professional, empathetic, constitutional policing. And then our employees, because the majority of our employees will not tolerate this activity either. And they're happy to know that we're dealing with it as well. And many of them have raised their hand and saying, what can we do and what can we do better to make sure we don't move forward with this? And you did mention labor. So far, in my conversations, and I think I put this in the letter I forwarded to you, that my conversations with both ALADS and POPA have been very productive. We are in a place where they acknowledge that there are issues and have been historical issues that need to be dealt with. Do we agree on everything? We do not. But I find myself in a position where, moving forward, we're going to be working together with the common goal and purpose of taking care of this issue. And these 27 recommendations, which I think are very, very good. I embrace them. I embrace all of them. But there are some that are so simple when in the recommendations, or at least some of them, we're talking about me coming out in front of my employees and saying that deputy gangs are unacceptable. That's a no-brainer. Deputy gangs are unacceptable. And as I traverse through the organization, whether it's brand new deputy recruits that come in, and I have spoken, if I'm not mistaken, I've got 3 graduations under my belt already. I have spoken to each class before they graduate. So those are our new people. Just last week, I spent several hours with everybody at the rank of captain and above to give them my very clear-cut expectations. There was one page dedicated to this report and talking about how we were going to cooperate and move forward. And that's an expectation of us moving forward. You talked about the urgency of this issue, and I couldn't agree with you more. I'm a very impatient man myself, and I wish I could sit here and tell you that some of the challenges we face will be over by the end of business day today, if not tomorrow. But the reality is that there are some, I already spoke about them, coming out and continuing to talk in front of our employees. That's a no-brainer, that's simple. I'm in the process of doing that. I will continue to do that at every chance I get. But then you have others that looked a little bit more in depth. So for example, when we're talking about the rotation of employees, I may not disagree with that at all. But I think all of you who are familiar with labor, and we work in the state of California, which has a great deal of respect for labor. And we have to work with our labor partners in a meet and confer process to get through certain items. That doesn't mean we don't do them. That just means it may take just a little bit longer to get there. What I'm finding out just in my initial conversations is that there's some really good ideas that they're putting out that we need to listen to, all of us do. Because please remember this, and you also mentioned this, according to not only your report, but the RAND report and many other reports that have been put forth, this challenge has been in existence, some say up to 50 years. So I've been in office 103 days. As much as I want to handle this by tonight or tomorrow, it's going to take a little bit of time. I hope not too much time. You have my commitment that I'm going to be pushing forward. But if we, not only I, if we want long-term real change, whether I'm the sheriff or not, and we don't want to be talking about deputy gangs, cliques, subgroups, whatever you want to call them, and more importantly, the behavior, the misconduct, the unethical and illegal behavior that has occurred around some of these groups, let's do this and let's do this right. From a leadership perspective, I have not come in on day one as a dictator. I am listening, I am learning, and as I move forward and we incorporate labor and we incorporate, I just want to throw out this other example because I fielded a lot of calls when a lot of our contract partners, I think all of you know this, that a big portion of the sheriff's responsibilities are our contract city partners that we partner with. And when they start hearing that some of the recommendations are that you want to rotate deputies out of their cities, the majority of these contract cities love their deputies. And they believe, and I'm just passing on information, I'm not telling you this is the way I feel, that the essence of community policing is to have the same deputies in your neighborhood policing for a certain amount of time. Because our vision is that our deputies hopefully are getting out of their cars, engaging our community, getting to know people on a different level than has been happened in the past. Can that happen when you're rotating people in and out? I don't know the answer to that. But yet I have to respect our contract city partners, mayors, city managers, council members who say, no, not that one. So we need some time to work through some of these things. But at the end of the day, nobody I've talked to is not committed to making the necessary change that needs to be made, that your recommendations, good recommendations, are proposing that we move forward with. So I'll wrap up because I know there's questions to be asked. You have my full commitment that I want change. That's why I was elected. I will be seen as a failure if I don't make that change, but I can't make it by myself. We have to do this right. We have to do this with all of our partners moving forward, but let's do it the right way. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I believe we'll get to the place we need to get to, and hopefully we will not be talking about this challenge again. I want to just throw something out because one of the speakers mentioned this, and I think it's worth talking about. My undersheriff, God bless you, April Tardy. What I have found as I'm coming through this organization is that, yes, we have a lot of employees that have tattoos. I personally don't have tattoos, but if you have one, I have nothing against you, meaning a tattoo of any kind. I could share with you that recently my daughter got one and my wife went bananas. My daughter's an adult woman though, and that's a decision she made, and it was of a dog. That's maybe beside the point. What I'm telling you is that we do have employees that have gotten station tattoos, and understanding the culture that I've walked into, at one point, getting a station tattoo was accepted in this culture. I think if you ask most people now, they're saying, it probably wasn't the right thing to do. But as we have and will continue to peel back this onion, I think we're going to find a difference between a station tattoo and a gang tattoo. And there is a difference. And I can guarantee you this, that for me as your sheriff, I will be focused on actions, misconduct, illegal behavior. I'm not going to accept misbehavior towards our community. That's what we're going to be focused on. And earlier you heard from Eileen Decker. I'm very proud to say that we're working together. She is now running our Office of Constitutional Policing. She is in the process of hiring several attorneys, auditors, and investigators. So when people ask me, you found the gangs yet? Well, that's what we're in the process of doing. We are going to peel back this onion and be reporting to all of you what we find, what we don't find, and if there's some challenges that are insurmountable for some reason, we're going to let you know and what those are and where we need more assistance. So we are building the foundation for the future to get rid of this problem once and for all. So when we're talking about the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, we're not talking about gangs, cliques, or subgroups anymore. Thank you. I stand ready to answer any questions you have.
I just want to say, Sheriff Luna, the issues are complex, like when you talk about rotation. I really understand how complicated that is, so I'm listening, and I think everyone else is. Regarding station tattoos, I don't think I have to tell you, Sheriff, that that is a term that has been used by deputies to deliberately obscure their membership in these deputy gangs. Many tattooed executioners with the skeleton and the AK-47 and the Nazi helmet and the trench coat, and the fires of hell behind, it's a clear gang tattoo, have referred in deposition to that as a station tattoo. And that's not limited to the executioners. All of the members do that. It's deliberately used to obscure the issue. Now, I do agree there are station tattoos, but I would think a station tattoo is the official logo of the station. You know, if I have a chart of every official logo of the station, but the tattoo that was discussed by the community member, it is not the official logo of Temple Station. It's different. So maybe that's just something we all
But
have to look into.
Sir, for clarification, if we're talking about April Tardy, everything you just described, that's not her tattoo.
No.
I just want to clarify
Oh.
for anyone who's listening that my undersheriff does not have any tattoos with flames,
No.
executioners, guns, or all these other, because that would be awful if anyone thinks that that's the case.
No, I am so sorry. What I was talking about two different things. I was saying that the people with the executioner's tattoo repeatedly call that a station tattoo. And other gang members have said the same thing. They refer to their gang tattoo as a station tattoo when it's not. And so you said there's a difference. There is a difference, but sometimes the deputies blur that distinction as a way of obscuring the issue. Regarding April Tardy's tattoo, it's not at all. It hasn't been described that way. I haven't seen it. But it's not the Temple Station logo either. So I'm going to open it up for questions.
I had a comment about our recommendations about involving the community. Because when you talk about community policing, I think it's very important to have those town hall meetings where the community gets introduced to the station key leadership. I think that's really important because they will have some idea of who's in charge, who to call, how that station is run. So are you planning to have some of those town hall meetings and have the leadership who's responsible be out there to communicate with the leaders?
What you're saying is a great idea. I agree with you 100%. Are you talking specifically to these recommendations or just overall?
Yes, I'm talking, hold on, I'll tell you exactly. It's recommendation number 7.
Okay, yes. Just quick answer, yes. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Patty?
Well, thank you, Sheriff, that you've been able to, at least at this point, reassure us that you are embracing all of the recommendations. And of course, it's complicated, and it's long-term issue, as you well know, as we all well know. But I'm feeling, I still am feeling what I felt when the Board of Supervisors adopted our recommendation last week already, that it's a new day. I think you're going to have a lot of support from this commission, from different aspects of the community, to support you in leading us through this new day. So I'm grateful that we're starting off in a very collaborative, communicative, connected way, and I think that's what's going to benefit our communities the most.
Thank you. And I am committed, percent.
To say something or ask the sheriff a question? Maybe not.
Jaman, you can make your comment now.
Sheriff Luna, thank you for joining us. I apologize that I'm not there in person, to meet you again in person. But I had a question. Before you arrived, I was asking about the movement on body cams and dash cam videos. And my understanding is that there have been thousands of cameras that have already been deployed to certain stations. Has there been a discussion? It's kind of a two-part question. One, once the cameras are being used by the deputies, has there been any discussion about how and when they are to activate and or deactivate their cameras when dealing with community members? Number one. And then number two, has there been any discussion about, especially when there's been an allegation of excessive force or a deputy involved shooting, has there been any discussion about how long before the camera, body cams will be released for the public upon request, through like a Public Records Act request?
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you for those two questions. Let me go to number one first. We have been putting out more body-worn cameras. As a matter of fact, several weeks after I arrived, understanding that the majority of our deputies in the field have them, specifically in patrol, college campuses, and out on the metro. I specifically asked that more body-worn cameras get introduced into a lot of our specialized units to serve search warrants. I think all of you are fully aware of cases around the country where warrants have been served and either misconduct or questionable activity occurs. I don't want that to happen here. So we are in the process of outfitting, for example, our Special Enforcement Bureau, which is our SWAT team, canines, narcotics, and other teams that serve warrants throughout the department. We are also working, and a lot of what I'm talking about is budget related. My vision is that deputies and custody service assistants in our custody facilities will someday be wearing body-worn cameras as well. That's where I want to get to. In regards to the policy about when they turn them on and off, the way that works is they're not continuously running, but the minute you are going to be engaged with a community member on a dispatch, you are mandated to turn those on to cover that engagement while that is occurring. The reason people have asked a very good question, why aren't they running all the time? I think any of you who are familiar with storage of video know that there is an extensive amount of hours that would have to be stored, and we simply, from an affordability perspective, it's beyond our department or county's ability to do that, at least at this point. And honestly, I would not recommend it. The second portion of your question is something that is very important for our community to know. When I arrived as your new sheriff, one of the first things when there was a deputy involved shooting, you ask, when does this footage get released? I didn't like the answer. So what we did is we went out through contract and hired a company that comes in and assists our department in with whether it's our homicide detectives, other investigative units, and the goal is to try and have videos that you described out in, the law says we have 45 days. I'm trying to get them out within 30 days. If we have something extraordinary, we will really push the envelope and even try and get it out sooner, but there's a lot of work that takes place. I like the path that we're on, always looking for opportunities to improve from that aspect. This commission should know that the other direction I gave is that we had at least somewhere between 19 and 22 videos from the year before I got there that had not been released. I ordered those released. And we did that several weeks ago. So we're on the path to getting better. Continue to look for opportunities to make sure that we are not only meeting national standards, but we're exceeding them. But at the end of the day, our community has a right to see those videos, and that's what our efforts have been.
Chair Kennedy, I just have one follow-up question, if it's okay. Sheriff, I appreciate that, and I understand your response regarding the activation and deactivation. Has there been further discussion about policies as it relates to any responsibilities on behalf of the deputies if they fail to activate when they're dealing with a member of the community?
Yes, sir. The policy is very strict about activating, and in cases where you don't, typically, we treat the first incident as a training incident. And then beyond that, they're subject to discipline if there are repeat incidences of not activating those cameras. That is my understanding as I sit here in front of you. And just so the public understands, this is still a newer tool in our department. And if you can think of this, if you get to a chaotic scene, you're trying to get there, you're looking at your MDT, looking for updated information. You may have lights and siren on, maybe not. You're trying to get to the right place, park the same time, trying to figure out the first thing you're going to do. And then we're trying to teach our people, you also push that button to activate your camera at the same time. It takes a little effort and conditioning to get there. We're getting there. We're getting better and better as this tool becomes something that just part of our life, everyday life.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Luis?
Thank you for coming in. Good morning. It's good to see you. And as I commission read the various literature on deputy gangs and just the reports over the last, I mean, as you can go back 30 years, you know, I've approached this issue and how it impacts the community from my professional and from my personal lived experience. And I read these recommendations, brought back a lot of memories. And, you know, I grew up in the Southeast LA County area, specifically unincorporated Whittier, which was patrolled by Pico Rivera Sheriff, and Santa Fe Springs, which was at that time patrolled by Norwalk. And so I recalled back when I was in high school, in public high school, I had left private high school to go to public high school to join some friends. And we were part of the little Vespa crew. We had these little Vespas, and I'll never forget my first interaction with my next door neighbor, who was a sheriff's deputy, who was a school resource officer. I don't even think that's what they were called back then. And we were going to lunch in our scooter, and we got pulled over by the guidance counselor and the sheriff in the car, you know, the deputy, and got accused of throwing a beer can. And interestingly enough, this was, you know, we were at school, we were juniors. Anyways, you know, I was adamant we weren't, you know, I got a littering ticket and we went to juvenile court, and deputy never showed up. And needless to say, I never even say hi to him as my next door neighbor. But I bring that example up because, you know, there's in my lived experience, there was other new interactions, and overall, you know, those later interactions were just a professional police officer, a professional deputy. And it was my, you know, got myself into situations that in hindsight, you know, I wished, well, they were what it is. Nevertheless, I looked at these experiences in coming into this commission and this role, and being an advocate in my community where primarily grew up, is, you know, the policing and a lot of the situations that have happened out there they happen, but they happen in a different, I guess, context where it's not East LA, it's not Compton stations, and a lot of stuff can fall, I guess, below the radar. And as I read these recommendations and looking at specifically questions like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, you know, I see these as, you know, the policies, and policies in any organization can be coming from the top. You know, this is a directive, and we know this is the vision of leadership. However, you know, culture shift, an organizational culture shift takes time. And, over these last, going back with this report, 50 years, there's, I think, from a historical context, we can look at the different changes in leadership and repetition of things still coming up in numerous reports. So, like was stated in the board's last meeting, as far as, it is a new day. And one thing that I've heard from you, Sheriff, is that call for 21st century policing. And when I look at statement 14, recommendation 14, the department should implement a series of community meetings involving patrol station captains, commanders, and chiefs. To me, like right there, that is an opportunity for this commission and the sheriff's department to go out into the community. I feel there's a lot of trust that needs to be rebuilt in specifically key communities, but then also education, because in my community where I'm living at, there's a lot of times where I'm having to be this voice of reason because, it's like a lot of the residents that I interact with refuse to see there's a problem. That's, a lot different environment in the communities where I'm primarily in. So I think my question or my hope is, and I guess, well, it is a question, is implementation of these recommendations, are they going to be coupled with this like 21st century vision policing? Because to me that brings hope and it brings some accountability into the change that we're all seeking.
Yes. So as part of my expectations, and I talked about last week, meeting with all the captains and above, yesterday I met with a group of newly promoted sergeants at our academy. And again, I do a PowerPoint, and one of the pages is the 6 pillars of 21st century policing. And honestly, if you look at a lot of the recommendations you have, and if you go back and look at my top priorities that I've developed for our department, our community, they all fit within the 6 pillars of what is called 21st century policing, or what I deem the vision is to create a 21st century sheriff's department. And just for the viewers or listeners, the 6 pillars, one is building trust and legitimacy. And that's a staple of any policing agency, sheriff's department, police department. And that's part of what you're talking about, is making sure that we're building public trust, policy, and oversight. Those are some of the things that we're talking about. There's a recommendation in there about a very strict policy that matches a state policy about gangs. That is something, to me, that's a no-brainer. I mean, there should be a policy. There shouldn't have to be a policy that anybody in law enforcement doesn't join a deputy gang, but obviously we're here, so there's going to be a policy. And that's something that we're going to have to do. Technology and social media is something that we're looking at, because a lot of the accountability pillars or things that we want to put in place, whether they're in custody or out in the field, early warning systems, those are through technology that we're going to do those things. And modernizing the sheriff's department is a big part of that. Community policing and crime reduction, our #1 priority is to reduce crime. But what I'm telling everybody is through relationship-based policing, which all of you have mentioned. It's about relationships. That's how you build trust. That's what we're planning on doing and really enhancing, to put out there training and education. That's a big part. None of this can happen if you don't have good training and education. That's a budget issue for us, but that's a huge investment. And then officer wellness and safety. I think all of you have heard me say the importance of our employee wellness, because I believe a lot of this misconduct is occurring because of untreated PTSD. This job we're talking about is very challenging, very difficult. I've been part of this law enforcement culture for almost 37 years, and we haven't always done a good job of taking care of ourselves. When we've seen something traumatic, something happens, we want to lead our employees to a better place, which in turn helps us retain employees, which in turn helps us treat our community the way they deserve to be treated, which is professionally, empathetic, and constitutional. So those are the 6 pillars. Sorry for the long answer, but I think it's important to get these things out there because this is what I'm pushing.
Sheriff, boy, I really appreciate your comments about joining law enforcement gangs might be related to untreated trauma issues. I represent at-risk youth in neighborhood gangs, and it's almost always trauma, mental health issue, problem, it's not being dealt with issue that is the driver. So, you know, one of the challenges I think we all have is why does a young person out of the academy want to join a law enforcement gang? So your focus on that is, my opinion, spot on. It's very therapeutic oriented, which is probably the way to solve problem. So thank you for saying that. As we conclude, before we take public comment, I just have I guess it's a question or a comment. I think everyone on this commission really wants to be the partner that you advocate for to help solve the problem together. But Sheriff, how do you solve a problem from our perspective that we can't access any information about? There's just so much secrecy about the internal investigations and the internal problems. Some of it is probably the law, you know, some of it is police culture. And so, you know, on this commission, I struggle, and I'll just give you an example. In October of 2021, the ad hoc committee met with the captains of 3 so-called fast stations who had many reports about having active deputy gangs, and all of them told us there's no gang problem here, nothing here. And at the time, the executioners were in the press, and the captain of Compton Station, as well as now under Sheriff Tardy, said there had been a big internal investigation. Finding of the internal investigation is that nobody was culpable, that there was no deputy gang operating out of the Compton Station. Or since that time, we've had more violence, more troubling allegations. And the question is, like, how can we be your partner when we know nothing about what the department does to honestly, objectively look at it and try to solve the problem? Because we just don't know how the department can investigate itself on this issue with the history that we have. And, you know, I just would like to be a partner, but I don't know how when it's all so secretive. It's just a black box that you never get any information about.
We need
It's a hard question, I'm sorry, you know.
No, that's why I'm here. I'm not afraid of questions, hard questions. It's all good. That's my responsibility, again, as your sheriff, to answer those. The fact that you think that we're in a black box, and if we took a survey in here, I think most people would say the same thing. Not acceptable. Meaning that the perception is that that we hide things and aren't as transparent as we should. I have to look at all of our systems to make sure that we're doing everything we can to change that. There are some limitations. You're right, you mentioned it. We have very strict personnel laws here in California, but yet there has been some changes recently with like 1421 and SB 2. And I'll tell you that that's why having this new Office of Constitutional Policing will help us greatly, because they're not only looking at the recommendations that all of you recommended, they're also looking at our settlement agreements and consent decrees. That for way too long, we as the Sheriff's Department have been out of compliance with. Some we've done okay. Our brothers and sisters here from the Antelope Valley talked about the Antelope Valley. When I got a briefing on there, I wasn't happy with what I heard about the progress or lack of progress from what's been happening with our monitors, who were very clear about, hey, we need to do better. We heard them loud and clear. That is part of what this office will be doing. So in our efforts, as our partners, remind us when we're not doing a good job. When you believe that there's information that you should have that we're not putting forth. If we're not putting it forth, if there's a reason for it, I have to tell you why. If there's not a good reason, then I should be giving it to you. Just putting it bluntly. That's the simplest way to get to what you said was a hard question. I don't find it to be a hard question. We in law enforcement overall just got to do a better job. Everything we do is not a secret, although at times there are things we cannot talk about, especially if we're talking about like a criminal investigation or an administrative investigation. But then in those times when we can, we should.
I think
about using technology. And what concerns me is the IA, because there's been many studies that shows that some of the IA is very biased against people of color. So I'm hoping that you would definitely pay attention to that as you advance in the technology, because I know you need to update systems and make sure they talk to each other. But on the AI stuff, I would hope that you would look that systems are not being biased, to redo the questions, or told that some of the pictures, the photographs, can be just totally off.
Again, what we'll do is part of I keep on bringing up the Office of Constitutional Policing. I think Eileen's starting to get nervous with everything that her and her staff will be doing. But when we are looking at new policies, especially those like you're mentioning, that are of great interest to our community, we're going to make sure that the Inspector General is working with us in reviewing our policies to make sure we're not missing those very critical components of it, especially when we're dealing with artificial intelligence, as you're talking about, because we've learned from mistakes in the past. I've made some, even with my previous job, of not doing everything I could to make sure our policies were where they should be. And with technology, it's unique because I've been in a situation where the technology got way ahead of the policy, just because technology's evolving so quickly. So we just have to be cautious. And like I said earlier to Chair Kennedy, just remind us if we're doing something. I'd like to think we're perfect, pretty darn good, but we do make mistakes, and we have to be called on it when we do. So just let us know. By the way, some of the technology I was talking about wasn't so much technology, although we're looking at both exterior to the department to talk about whether it was the murder of Bishop not too long ago, mass shooting that we had in Monterey Park. We used technologies to solve that. We wouldn't have been able to capture those individuals as quickly as we did at risk to public safety. but I'm talking about intelligent or technology that assist us in management to, like early warning systems, for example, that assist us in helping us coach and mentor our employees sooner before they get involved in misconduct. So hopefully we go a different direction. And even with that employee wellness portion of it, just helps us look at things very differently. So those are some of the technologies we're talking about.
Thank you. I know technology can some that advantage of it. Thank you.
Why don't we take public comment on this issue, Deputy?
Our first speaker, Ron Dow, followed by Vanessa Perez, followed by Valerie Vargas.
I have a request if we could just take a brief restroom break. So how long?
We have 5 in-person speakers and 2 online.
Thank you to the attendees who have logged online. We are taking a 15-minute break now. After that, we will take general public comment. If you would like to make general public comment, please raise your hand in the WebEx system. That will put you in queue to provide your public comment. If you have called in to the WebEx, you can also sign up for public comment by pressing *3 and following the prompts. So we will see you in 15 minutes. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for your patience. We will be returning from break shortly. It is. We could have all commissioners take their seats.
Just finished discussion, enforcement gangs and the complexities that go with eliminating them. We'll just keep talking, Sheriff. And so now we're going to have community comments. I cut you off. So sorry.
Doesn't ever stop me though. Despite the image of Compton popularized by rappers in the 1980s and reinforced by so-called high crime and adverse media reports, for Compton not to become an outstanding results-oriented municipal performer is a choice in 2023. The current leadership has inherited a legacy of missteps and inept stewardship from past administrations that they must now work hard to correct. Otherwise, the city will be on the brink of default and will continue to violate Section 1 of the 14th Amendment by allowing its $24 million law enforcement contractor a free hand unchecked. Compton residents do not know if executioner deputy gangs work in Compton Station, if any Proud Boys, 3%ers, Oath Keepers, or any other traitors work out of Compton Station. But we do know that not all Compton deputies are gang members. For example, we know that Pastor Rafer Owens, now retired, exemplified the kind of deputy Compton has always needed and continues to need. Additionally, the National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice, Southwest Region Compton chapter demands that Compton require disclosure of all sheriff contract personnel names, assignments, and employee numbers, require all incoming sheriff contract personnel to appear and introduce themselves to the public during city council meetings and tell their reasons for choosing to work in Compton and what benefits the city will receive from their presence. There's additional additional demands that we're making on the city. We are prepared with a study group composed of Compton residents, college students, and stakeholders who will further develop measures and benchmarks to assess and publicize the value of all Compton's operations. We believe that what gets measured gets done. I'd like to submit these comments for the record. To who?
Yes. Could we get the written submission?
Our next speaker, Vanessa Perez, followed by Valerie Vargas, followed by Stephanie Luna.
Hi, I'm the mother of Joseph Andrew Perez, who was severely beat by your LA sheriffs. Joseph was punched 121 times. Since I have requested body and dash cams, and I received none. I requested medical records from MCJ, and USC, and they gave me records since 2018 through 2023, and there was not one record of my son's injuries. Of July 27, 2020. Visually, you can see Joseph's 17 staples on his head, his 19 stitches to his face and his ears, and his black eyes. I did find on 7/28/2020, he was seen for allergies, at MCJ, UNUSC, but nothing of his injuries I just stated to you. I don't know how that's possible of those injuries. I think there needs to be some type of accountability for no video records and no medical records with the staff at USC and whoever the booking for the jails. Okay, and then here we are in 2022 or 2023, and Deputy Paul Sadana, who punched Joseph the last 14 punches, which was a punch 107, 100 through 121, is at the Nogales High School as the SRO. I know he spoke on that earlier. Now, I know that there's been attention brought to him, and I understand that he has a one-year contract with the sheriffs and the school. There needs to be some type of accountability on who put this attempted murderer, Paul Sadana, on a high school campus. And I mean, how did a deputy that works in this manner get to work with children?
Thank you.
And for him to be given the opportunity to leave the SRO position is not okay either. He should be fired, terminated from his job completely, and not spread the cancer from one department to another, because that's what was done.
Our next speaker, Valerie Vargas, followed by Stephanie Luna, followed by Raquel Dörfler.
You know, like Vanessa was saying, Robert, you were earlier saying about deputies engaging in communities. We have the same deputies who have impacted our lives in the landscapes of our backyards. And one thing I did want to say is there's so many excuses. You know, you're here new on this panel, but we've been doing this for 4 years. And like, how do you solve a problem with the department when the department resists meaningful actions to stop deputy gang violence? It infests in the streets, to the paperwork, into internal affairs, and into litigations. The reason I'm mentioning litigations is because right now my family, I'm the aunt of Anthony Vargas, murdered by the East LA Sheriff's Department, the Bandidos gang. Yesterday, we went to a hearing, and you know, it's hard to even get some kind of fair litigation going. Right now, we have like testimony from whistleblowers who will help with their case defining these 2 deputies who murdered Anthony, and we can't even get it in. It's like the deputy gang violence is so embedded in the department. Another thing I wanted to talk about is, you know, seeing the deputies in our faces, the ones who murdered my nephew in our communities, it's psychologically damaging. I am damaged. I am not the same person. We see them all the time. I can't even go to the park without seeing them. Vanessa, the deputy who beat her son, is at her kid's school. You know, you're talking about creating a 21st century police department, but what you're ultimately creating is an organized super crime unit with a badge. And I need this department to make it easier for families to pursue prosecution and litigation, because the deputy gangs are the ones doing the paperwork also. The ones who did the paperwork for my nephew, he's right now prosecuted and he's charged for perjury.
Thank you. Next speaker, Stephanie Luna, followed by Raquel Dörfler, followed by Paulette Sanders.
I don't even know where to start. I feel like I was listening to a campaign for a second. I'm just curious, Robert, how you're gonna eradicate deputy gangs without eradicating the entire department. I'm not sure if you realize how embedded deputy gangs is within the sheriff's department. When I say embedded, I'm talking about deputies that are moving up the ranks. It's not just deputies on street patrols, it's deputies working the entire chain of command. They're working homicide, they're in internal affairs. The deputy that murdered my nephew, Nicholas Perez, one of your deputies, is now a training officer. He's training the recruitment class that you might have just graduated on how to shoot lawful shootings and how to make these shootings justifiable. So I'm not sure what your plan is to eradicate the gangs without eradicating the entire department. Like my sister mentioned, we are in pending litigation and we were not even able to have deputy gangs admitted because of this level of secrecy. It's a level of secrecy to the point where it's so covered, and it's covered by the police associations, it's covered by the undersheriffs, it's covered to the point where you can't admit it, have it admissible anywhere because everything lacks foundation, and I'm not sure how that's even possible. I do want to address you talking about the PTSD that the sheriffs carry with them. I can tell you that the families in the room can attest to the PTSD that we carry on a daily basis with having to see the deputies that murdered our loved one at the grocery stores, having to see the deputies that murdered our loved one directly outside of our home. Want to do something? The 27 recommendations within the report, one of the recommendations is to have these deputies removed from their home stations. The reasons why they love these stations is because these are the stations that got them into the deputy gangs. Nicholas Perez and Jonathan Rojas love the East LA station. That's their home station because that's where they became a full-fledged bandito. You want to do something, get those deputies out of that station. Start removing these deputies from the departments that harass the families. The recommendations aren't hard. They're nothing that's not common sense. Everything that's written in there is basic common sense. These deputies are hurting communities. They're hurting people. They're killing people, not for a dog tattoo. They're not going to a tattoo parlor to get a dog. They're not going to a tattoo parlor to get a smiley face. They're killing our loved ones for a deputy gang tattoo. My nephew was shot 13 times in the back for a deputy gang tattoo that Jonathan Rojas and Nicholas Perez proudly wear on their arm. My nephew's not, he wasn't a gang tattoo. My nephew was a person. He was someone that deserved to live his life. Want to do something? Adopt those recommendations and start making it happen. You can do something tomorrow. It's not going to take a week. It's not going to take 10 days. You can do something now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Raquel Derfler, followed by Paulette Sanders.
Okay, good morning again, good afternoon. I want to speak to the sheriff's discussion of one way to improve the department's image, relationship is with being out in the community and meeting members in the community. So I want to explain to you what that looks like in the Antelope Valley. So last week, I attended a town hall that was put on by the Lancaster, it was Community Advisory Committee. So that was put in place as per the settlement agreement between LASD and the DOJ for Palmdale and Lancaster stations. So on their face, they're supposed to be the bridge between community and the sheriff's department. In reality, they're a cheerleader for the department. How do I know this? I applied to be part of the Palmdale Advisory Committee. My application came from the sheriffs. I interviewed with the the Palmdale Sheriff Chief or person there. So people on that committee serve at the pleasure of the Palmdale Lancaster captains. So whenever someone comes aboard that is really bringing true concerns about community to the sheriff, they are let go. So I was told the issues that I would be hearing from community would be about jaywalking. Like, hey, there's this corner and there's a lot of jaywalkers and speak to them. That's not what's happening in our community. When I explained to the lieutenant sitting at my table, it would go a long way if when someone comes and says a harm has been done to them by a sheriff, you just acknowledge the harm and say, we will try to see what's happening. We don't want to hear that we're not all bad. That's what we get time and time again, and you kind of alluded to it. We understand you're not all bad. But let me give you an example. Ted Bundy lived in a neighborhood. All his neighbors on that street were not bad, but Ted Bundy did a lot of damage.
Thank you. Our final in-person speaker, Paulette Sanders.
This is pertaining to police gangs. How does an organization with one focus is to build healthy communities include cadet officers and exclude police gangs? How are they gonna be supported by our law enforcement to provide public safety when they want to do events with cadet officers, not police gangs? So my question is, I'm trying to reach who's ever in charge because I'm the founder of Stopping Pressure on Teens. And when I went out to support the youth in their anger behind George Floyd's death in Lancaster, I was accused of being an Antifa group with youth. Only thing that I did to support the kids was buy some porcelain plates, saran wrap, and let them throw it on the ground to release their anger. That's positive. But instead, I was accused of being a part of an Antifa group and that I knew not to stop on the grounds of law enforcement because I knew what was going to happen to me. What was going to happen to us? What were they going to do to youth, kids that wanted to express their feelings? For me, I think there's still hope and always a solution in healing our communities because that's my passion. But I do believe Black Lives Matter. Also, I'm here as a voice for someone needing a full investigation into being targeted and wrongfully incarcerated by LASD. What are the proper steps to take? Can someone answer that for me?
Thank you. Our next speakers will be online. Our first speaker is MJ King, followed by Robert Ray.
You can hear me? Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Alrighty, thank you, Chair Kennedy, for acknowledging that Under Sheriff Tardy's supposed station tattoo is in fact not a logo of Temple Station. And while Luna tried to deflect by saying her tattoo wasn't like the executioner's, you reminded him that members of multiple deputy gangs have deliberately used the claim of station tattoos to obscure membership in gangs. Luna's deflection of civilian tattoos is also noted. We're not talking about civilian tattoos or the social acceptance of body art. We're talking about the seriousness of the highest leadership in LASD sporting tattoos that represent gang involvement connected to terrorizing our communities. Just because you didn't kill someone doesn't mean that you haven't been complicit in covering up the murder, the harassment of community members, or other gang activity of LASD deputies. You'll remember that April Tardy testified to this commission on July 25th that she investigated deputy gangs and was directed not to ask about gang involvement. And she didn't question that directive because, quote, we're a paramilitary organization. It's an age-old story, right? We investigated ourselves and we found no wrongdoing. Cute. Don't accept these excuses. Last, I'd like to ask this commission what you're doing to protect the family members whose loved ones are being harassed by the deputy gang members who murdered their loved ones. Showing up outside their house or place of work can be excused by a wellness check or, oh, we got a call. That is the power they continue to abuse. It must stop now. No excuses. Excuses do not build public trust. You chose this job, Luna. You campaigned on eradicating deputy gangs. We want action, not excuses.
Please go ahead, Robert.
Thank you. Ron Dell mentioned Deputy Rafer Owens. In 2008, 2010, I was a volunteer at the Compton Station. Deputy Owens was in charge of community relations, and we were really busy doing community policing. One of the things that we did was called community academies, where the public was invited to come and meet with deputies in a group setting, and deputies would explain to the public how they operate, what they did, and how the public should react if they were interacting with deputies at traffic stops or etc. All of this has kind of disappeared. Also, they were very active in promoting block clubs and community watches. All that seems to have disappeared. Right now, Compton has one deputy, community relations. He does attend council meetings, but all of this community policing seems to have gone away. And I know that the sheriff has mentioned we need to bring this back. And there again, as a volunteer, volunteers can enhance the department a great deal. And I mentioned this before, to enhance the volunteers to also save money for the department. So community policing, community academies, public relations in all departments should be brought back to bring the bridge between the department and the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Michelle Infante, followed by Will Brown.
Michelle, a request has been. Michelle and seeing that Michelle is move on to Will Brown. Please go ahead, Will.
Okay. Whoops. Sheriff Luna, as a member of the public, I'm so happy to hear your commitment and your conviction that deputy gangs can be eradicated and your commitment to do whatever it takes to eradicate them. As Mr. Kennedy was saying, there seems to be this wall in between getting information from the sheriff's department about deputy gangs and then the public being able to demand that something be done. The LA Times has had numerous articles about gangs, which stations are affected by gangs, which officers by name are alleged to be members of gangs. Mr. Kennedy has done research and their reports on which particular deputies are alleged to be members of gangs. So as a member of the public, I'm wondering if you can make a statement of some kind to explain what is your administration going to do with all the existing public information? Does it require more research, more investigation, more this and that? There is a lot in the LA Times. There's a lot in reports that have been done. What is your administration doing to follow up on direct information about deputy gangs? I think the public would like to hear from you on that. And so I'll wait for your answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And it appears that Michelle is having a problem being herself. So please do exactly what you just did, Michelle, one more time. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. My name is Michelle Infante. Black and brown families have been enduring the deaths of their loved ones, killed violently and harassed by the sheriff's department for over a century. If your deputies suffer PTSD and are not and are out roaming our communities every day, what are you doing to change that? Your deputies are repeat offenders, violent offenders, murderers, thieves, drug traffickers, and rapists. I know that they are rapists because I myself was in there and I was sexually assaulted by a deputy quite a few years back. The report that Mr. Deixler did and wrote was troubling because it was very intentional by the County Board of Supervisors. It was about how deputy gangs harm other deputies. The families brought you the stories, and then the new commissioners vote to supplement the report with families. For those of you that don't know, the families are the report, and they don't want to be considered a supplement. They are the report, and they are the ones that brought you those stories. The deputies have killed and raped, and they are patrolling our neighborhoods. How do we know who are the good, the moral, the ethical, the empathetic, the caring deputies, opposed to the ones who have killed community more than once? You have opportunity, which is to go and look at people's personnel records and see who those are that are repeat offenders, whether they have tattoos or not. These people, their records speak for themselves, and you need to do something about that, Mr. Luna. Families want you to do something. No, people don't want cut to, and the commission too. You need to be aware that sometimes when you do things, you're doing things out of the idea of your own, and you're not putting families forward and first. And I would urge you to consider and do just that.
Thank you. That was our final speaker.
Anything left on the agenda except to adjourn? So I want to thank Sheriff Luna for coming here again. It's really refreshing to see a sheriff who comes to the commission, who listens and stays for comments from the public. We have always had that, and I want you to know like how appreciated it is. And it sounds like you and your constitutional policing head advisor have a lot of work ahead of you, and we want to help you if we can. And to the members of the public, particularly the families of people whose loved ones have died because of sheriff violence, every time you come here, your story just bowls me over, and I think bowls many people. Just, I don't know how you do it, but I appreciate that you do it and that you keep us honest. And I want to say we are trying. We are trying to get to the bottom of community impact. It is really hard because, as has been remarked, members who have suffered because of these groups or deputy gangs, they don't have the foundation. They can't testify. And the courts and it's just, you're right, it's just catch-22, because how do you know if someone's in a deputy gang? The sheriff's department knows, but they can or won't get us the information because of the police officer's Bill of Rights, but maybe that's going to change. Maybe we can all put our heads together and find a way to share the information so that it can be disclosed to the people it needs to be disclosed to, the accused people, the survivors who have lost someone and have their lawsuits, the oversight bodies who are trying to push the department politely, respectfully, to do something about this. So we'll just keep trying, but we're going to conclude this meeting. And I don't know if we have a special meeting, but when we do, I know we're doing a lot of work interviewing community members. The special counsel has been doing that, and I have been interviewing community members. So we probably will have another special hearing at Loyola addressing that, but the date is unknown. Patty?
I just have a housekeeping question. We're meeting in person now every month? That's the plan?
I don't know the answer to that, Patty.
Okay.
I'll try to find out.
Okay, good. Just planning. But also, I just want to second the idea of us taking a trip out to Lancaster. I know we haven't been out there since pre-COVID. We have been out there in the past, but I think we're all in agreement to do that. But I wanted, it's reassuring the folks who came all the way out here that will come to you.
Lancaster and Compton. I'm also, that would be, it's much overdue, so I appreciate you saying that. So we're going to conclude. Commissioners, thank you for being here, and we'll announce the status of our next meeting, where it is, because right now we're struggling with finding a home pad. Thank you, everyone.